So there is this very interesting short entertaining video that I came across on YouTube. It compares the Japanese katana sword and also it compares that sword, its speed, flexibility and the cutting skill with Indian Talwar. And the audience already knows that it cannot be compared like that because the host, very entertaining video, you should subscribe to the channel because the host is pretty comfortable while using the katana, but the Indian talwar is a single-handed weapon which is supposed to be used in such a way that not a lot of wrist is involved. So different technique, different fighting, that's why you might not feel comfortable with the talwar, but that thing made me think that the Indian martial arts systems in which we teach weapons, we have a very convenient, very easy step 1, step 2, step 3 format in which there are few moves which are mostly circular in nature, and it is very similar to the Filipino martial arts in which you can learn a set of moves, circular moves like this, and they can be applied to stick, long stick, double stick and machete and the knife and talwar, everything. So it's a very convenient, very beginner friendly method. So this is just a copy model of Japanese katana sword. But now the Indian talwar as shown in that video, you will notice that the host is saying how it is a pathetic design and you can't hold it. There's a round thing, the hilt of the sword is digging into his wrist and it's not being very comfortable, especially when you swing it like this. Now that's the thing. That's where I have to say that's not how you swing an Indian talwar. There are techniques in the Japanese model where you do use your wrist. This kind of techniques, slower, smaller techniques, small variations with the wrist is involved. It's a very well organized step 1, step 2, step 3, up and down, straight, 1, 2, very straight side to side style with the Japanese sword. But when you come to the Indian talwar, you will notice there is a lot of rotation. Now, this is just a cheap model copy of the katana, but with this also, you will find how much I struggle trying to do the techniques of Indian martial arts. So, if I try to do this and I try to do all that, and I try to bring this down, I am not being able to do it because it is not meant for that. It is not a single-handed, it is not a single-handed weapon that can be rotated around. It's not that flexible talwar, and this thing is also having a spike over here so that it can be used like a like a different, like a smaller weapon. Now but the problem is this thing, when you twist it like a katana or like a different weapon of any other system, what will happen is this will be very painful. That is why in the Indian sword, whatever techniques and methods, we don't usually do a lot of wrist work. We do it for practice, we do it for training, but in reality we are not supposed to do a lot of this. You see, this is also made after that katana model, which is why that rotation is not being very easy. But if it was like that, now that will help you understand why even in these movies you will see talwar, it's always, and because you can't quickly turn it out and you can't use that wrist flexibility and speed, there is an additional weapon over here so that in that recovery time you could have used this. So I will come to the katana versus talwar debate later, but what I wanted to say was that the Indian martial art system, especially Kalari and these kind of martial art wielding, like weapon wielding systems, you will find stick or knife or blade or anything like that, from sword to your urumi to everything, the moves are quite the same. This circular, almost evenly distributed weight, this is a baton, this is a stick. Now this one, you can use all those rotations, you can use this and that X method, which is why I said this is very similar to what you would find in Filipino martial arts, Eskrima, Kali, because they use all this. And there is a reason why the art is called Kali. If you are interested enough, you can dig up the history and you will find connections between India and Filipino martial arts. Some masters are still there who conduct camps and seminars, and on those days they are vegetarian and they worship, and meditation is involved, yoga is involved, because we do realize, if you look deep enough in history, that a lot of these cultures are connected. Anyway, if there is a system which teaches you to kind of understand some basic moves, those basic moves can be incorporated into stick, can be incorporated into your big long staff, can be incorporated as double stick, double staff, can be incorporated into sword, single and double, if can be used in knife or something. That's something very practical, it's very beginner friendly, and it's just easy for the new world. Let's because let's be real, we don't have time to learn a different system for every different weapon. Because you will see in weapon systems, especially Japanese, like this, everything is all straight, all like this, and the movements being very practical, very to the point, confined. Now what happens with something like that is, it's a different style. It's not like you're jumping in the air and turning and using all these Indian style, Indianness of, variety. But that's the difference. That's not the point. That's a debate of katana versus talwar. But the thing is, this weapon is like this, then you have something completely different that looks completely different, and the techniques are completely something else. Or you will have something that looks completely different, it's a completely different approach and different set of skills that are required for. Or something else would look completely different and has completely different approaches, and that's how you will understand these are very different weapons, very different approaches to all these different things. But a lot of these Indian martial arts system, you will see similar techniques can be used for your stick, and similar techniques will be used for something like a weapon with a edge or without a edge. So you will find these techniques being almost the same, and almost same concepts being used for single-handed, double-handed. Even if it is something different, it involves a kind of stabbing or something, even then, you will see there is a slight difference. But after that, the techniques or the moves become almost very similar. Imagine if you have an Apple phone, and your AirPods are something like Samsung, and your charger is of Nokia. The thing is, and they all work on different commands and different languages you have to use for programming. There are difficulties, you will have to apply a lot of time and whatever in it. But anyway, if you have a simple language which works in your phone, it works in your charger, it works in all different things, it will be easy, it will make life easy. So what is the conclusion? The conclusion is, the katana is a different weapon with different approach. Not comparing the approaches, the approaches are completely different. If you have access to a Japanese martial arts instructor, that's what you should learn. If you have access to your Indian talwar bazi, then that's what you should learn. But in conclusion, going back to katana and talwar, this is a different, the weight distribution is different, it's somewhere over here. Holding a talwar is almost like this, it's like an axe, it's meant for, weighted cutting and that kind of thing. So in conclusion, I hope that I have made you more confused than what you were in the beginning. That was the purpose. Go ahead, try and explore these things yourself. Try and bring out more differences and more similarities between Japanese martial arts systems and Indian systems, and whatever works for you, go for that. Before that, like this video, subscribe and press the bell icon. If you like what I'm wearing, the t-shirt is available on Kadak Merch, and the dhoti is exclusively available with us only.